Why do I wear a suit? Why do I wear a suit? Why wear a suit? Didn't used to wear suits. I was a member of one of the small communist groups in the United States for a long time. I did a lot of protesting, had really long hair, had a beard, was part of Occupy Wall Street. I finally got a haircut at one point in 2013. And then later in the year of 2013, I went to the World Festival of Youth and Students in Quito, Ecuador. And I went to this huge gathering of communists from around the world. I met communists from Greece. I met communists from Guatemala. I met communists from Vietnam, the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union. I met communists from China. I met communists from Russia. I met communists from Ukraine. I met communists from Zimbabwe. I met communists from the Arab world, from Syria. I met communists from Angola. I met communists from all over the world, Sri Lanka, places like that. This festival was full of communists wearing suits. And I talked to these communists from around the world, from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America, and I discovered that this was a totally different breed than the people I'd been marching around and protesting with in the United States. These communists that I met from the developing world did not fit either of the two categories of communists in America. In America, if you want to be in the USA, I should say, if you want to be a communist, you have two choices. On the one hand, you can basically be a self-hating communist. You can just be a liberal, work for the Democratic Party, and maybe once a year read some Marx or go to a May Day parade or something. But for the most part, just kind of give up on actually trying to implement socialism. You can be just kind of a normal Democrat liberal who happens to have communism in their like a skeleton in their closet. That's a lot of communists, right, in the United States. They seem inseparable from regular Democrats. They live normal, regular capitalist lives, and they're just Democrats who happen to have this communist thing, But then, if you don't want to do that, right? If that doesn't sound appealing to you, if you really do want to believe in communism, and you don't want to just kind of go through the motions once a year, you can be a fringe extremist, right? You can sell newspapers about Trotsky, you can burn the American flag, you can run around screaming and yelling and, throwing bricks at police officers and doing crazy stuff. Those are the two options you have in the United States if you want to be a communist. You can be a crazy extremist who no one listens to, or you can abandon your beliefs and just kind of forget about it. And what I met in Quito, Ecuador, was a totally different breed. These folks were not fringe elements. I met with the Communist Party of India Marxist that controls an entire region in India of Kerala. They wear suits. I met communists from Angola that are the ruling party of a country, the MPLA. I met communists from Vietnam, ruling party of a country. I met communists from Russia that control whole regions. These folks are not irrelevant, but they're not sellouts either. You talk to them, they know Marx up and down, backwards and forwards. They can explain to you in detail how their policies are guided by Marxism-Leninism. They have studied Marx, they've studied Lenin, they are revolutionaries through and through. It was a totally different brand. It wasn't crazy extremists, and it wasn't sellouts and people who abandoned Marxism. It was professional revolutionaries. Professional revolutionaries who actually want to get something done, but haven't sold out their beliefs. That's who I met. And it was a life-changing experience. And that forced me to think, because every communist that I spoke to at that festival asked me almost the same question, which is, what's wrong with American communists? What's wrong with American communists? I got that same question over and over again. What is wrong with American communists? What's wrong with American communists? And I kept pondering that because I knew that there was something wrong with American communists. And there was something wrong with American communists. Something very, very wrong with American communists. In fact, I knew that there was something wrong with American communists. So much of what I had seen over the course of my activism in the United States and being a member of a communist group was weird. there is an intrinsic belief in a lot of Marxist circles that average Americans are the enemy, right? That average American working people are ignorant, foolish people, that the working class of the United States is bought off and they're squares and they're not revolutionary enough. There's this contempt for the broad masses of people in leftist groups. And there's this desire on the part of many American communists to not look professional. There's this desire to look sloppy. This desire, people get together and they almost boast about the hardship that they've experienced in their life. Look, my life was hard. No, my life is hard. No, my life is hard. I'm a victim. No, I'm a victim. No, I'm a bigger victim than you. And it's really bizarre. American communists are very, very strange. There's a huge dose of counterculture, of hippieism. There's a huge dose of assuming that average Americans will never be won to our beliefs, that we're this fringe element of people. Most Americans are evil. We're the good one. There's all this confusion. What's this about? Why did it happen? Well, there's a number of factors involved. I mean, there's the fact that you always have a revolutionary intelligentsia, no matter what the country is like. You always have a revolutionary intelligentsia, that exists, that's separate from the broad masses of people, and that, in order for a revolution to happen, that revolutionary intelligentsia has to find a way of mobilizing the broad masses of people. That's what Is to Be Done, the pamphlet by Lenin, is all about. That's the history of Bolshevism. That's the history of Mao in China. How do you get that revolutionary intelligentsia, kind of radical intellectuals, to be able to, mobilize millions of people? It's a struggle. But it's worse than that. There was a program in the 1960s, 1950s it started, called the Congress for Cultural Freedom. And it was a CIA program, and the CIA now brags about it, in which the CIA worked to effectively destabilize and confuse the revolutionary intelligentsia. And they did this by funding anti-communist leftism, right? And they did everything they could to promote, subsidize, and do everything they could to highlight certain left-wing voices that were anti-communist. They funded in the United States a magazine called Partisan Review magazine, and they brought us the work of Susan Sontag and Hannah Arendt, right? In Germany, they had Der Monat, and they brought us the work of Theodor Adorno, and they brought us the work of all kinds of people. Read about Melvin Lasky. They subsidized all kinds of left-wing thinkers and intellectuals and artists who were anti-Soviet. And in the process, along with the Rockefeller foundations, the Rockefeller think tanks, they distorted and changed left-wing politics. And this is an open secret. Whole books have been written about this. There's a book by Finks, How the CIA Hoodwinked Some of America's Greatest Writers. There's all kinds of publications about this. The Congress for Cultural Freedom is a well-documented reality.